up? Welcome or welcome back. Can you hear that? Does she sound a little bit more husky and throaty? Hey! Right, so I've fitted to my Royal Enfield Super Meteor 650 here the Tec Bike Parts Canon exhaust system, the complete system from the cylinder head to the tailpipe, complete system. And I'm going to stop jabbering in a bit because we will cut to me showing you how I fitted these exhausts and 2 or 3 of the cock-ups that I made, as is always the case with my less than professional spannering, but therein develops a steep learning curve, and the best form of learning is by doing and by making mistakes. So I'll show you that. The actual evaluation of these pipes be a separate video, so stay tuned for that within the next week or so. But I hope you can hear just how much rock, roll and rumble there is from these here pipes, and the dB killers are in, not out. The silencers are in. I dare not take them out. Sounds absolutely amazing. But in a later video we'll talk about the sound, the looks, the overall performance, and of course I have the DNA stage 2 air filter fitted to this bike as well, so we'll talk about whether the combination of the DNA air filter and this Tec Bike Parts Canon exhaust system has made a noticeable difference to performance. I could answer that question for you now, but it can wait until that dedicated video coming up. So I'm just finished jabbering in a bit, and I'll show you how I went about fitting them. But just before I do, to give you a bit of context, I'll tell you about a couple of small mistakes that I made, that if you fit in this exhaust system you'll benefit from my learning. First is, you'll notice at the start of that video where I'm putting the left hand pipe on, that I've partially removed the tank, or moved the tank back. So I have this bike is the as you probably know, is the Celestial model, and as such it comes with the touring seat with the backrest, which comes as standard with this bike or as an optional upgrade on the other Super Meteors. So first, what you have to do, and I'll tell you first, why did I move the tank back? Because you need to remove the oxygen sensors, and they connect to the wiring harness via a plug, a connector, which is just under the tank at the front on either side. Now I found it a lot easier to access that little clip that you need to undo before you can unscrew the silencers. You need to undo them, and the sensors rather, you need to undo them and thread them out. Now you don't necessarily have to remove the tank to do that, but that's why I did it. So to move your tank back on this, there's one bolt at the back of the seat on this that holds it in place, but to be able to remove the seat you're going to have to remove the backrest. So there's 4 bolts holding the backrest on. They are held on by Torx bolts, I think the T30s or T27s, something like that. So remove those 4 bolts, remove the backrest, then take your 6mm Allen key, and using that you can remove the retaining bolt in the middle of the back of the seat, and then you can just pull the seat away, and there you will see the fuel tank retaining bolt, which is a 10mm bolt and a 10mm nut. So you just need to pop that out, and then if you shimmy the tank back very carefully, you'll be able to get it back about 6 inches, and it will sit on the cross member of the frame quite securely, actually, if you're just very careful. Make sure you locate it properly, and that gives you access then, and you can see this in the video, that gives you access then to the point where the oxygen sensors connect to the wiring loom under the tank, and that connector is just mounted on a metal tab. So all you need to do is pull the before you actually disconnect it, pull the assembly off the metal tab, which you'll see me doing, and then push down the little plastic tab on the connector and pull the connector out, and then you just need to thread the lead to the oxygen sensor back through where it's clipped in, just behind the forks, and then unscrew the sensor with a 17mm spanner. Now, so having realised that, you'll see when I came to do the left hand side of the bike, I didn't need to pull the tank back because I was able to locate the connector, because of course I knew exactly where it was and how to pull it off. So you just grab a hold of it and pull the assembly back off its metal mounting tab, pull it towards the rear of the bike, and then you can disconnect it. So that's why the tank was off at the first half. So I'll leave it up to you if you're going to do this job, which way you go about it. But you can do it without removing the tank, but it's a bit fiddly to get it back, the connector back. So up to you. It's a very easy, very straightforward job to move the tank back, you know, just 6 inches. And the other thing was, you need to make sure when you put the front pipes on that you've got clearance with the brake lever and gear lever, because I didn't, and I put it all together and tightened it all up, and all of a sudden my brake lever and my gear lever were wedged firmly against the side of the exhaust pipes. So I had to remedy that, thanks to a couple of tips from Matt at Tec Bike Parts. Thank you, Matt. So if you've got like a fairly thin block of wood or something similar, put that between the exhaust pipes and the brake lever and the gear lever before you tighten everything up, and that way you can be sure that you aren't going to end up fouling up those two important controls on the bike. And the rest you'll see from the fitting procedure and the bit of commentary that I've included. So those were a couple of things that I learnt from the exercise. You can get a couple of metal shrouds that cover the join between the pipes and the silencer, and I tried them and I didn't think they looked right to my taste. They might work for you, so I've left them off. And that's about that. Like I say, a full evaluation and review video to come. Have a look at how these things were fitted, and yeah, I think that's about it really. It'll be self-explanatory. So on the next time, from another grey wet February day in Yorkshire, ride safe, be kind, and I'll see thee. Okay, first job then, to remove the heat shield, 2 10mm bolts from the silencer there, so you can get to the silencer clamp. and just push that heat shield towards the front of the bike and it should pop off thus. Next job, 12mm wrench or ratchet spanner required there for the silencer clamp. So loosen that off. And once you've done that, then turn your attention to the mounting point, but you can see there it would have been much easier if I just undone the one bolt and left the bracket and the silencer together, but hey, as you'll see later, I had to remove that as well. Right, front of the bike now, and what you can see there is the O2 sensor connector under the tank. Now I've moved the tank back there so you can clearly see it, but it is actually accessible if you know what you're doing from underneath the tank with the tank in place. But as you can see there, it just slides off its metal tab, and then you can just depress the plastic tab and pull the two apart. Hey presto. And as I say, a lot easier if you move the tank back to do that, but it is possible with the tank in place. So now what you need to do is thread that O2 sensor lead all the way back through the channels and fasteners until you get to the O2 sensor itself there. And then you should be able to take to that a 17mm spanner to remove it when it comes to it. Okay, as you can see that I've removed the two 12mm bolts that hold that retaining flange that attaches the exhaust pipe to the cylinder head. Two 12mm there, and that will loosen that finned collar that you can see. Now you can get your 17mm spanner in and remove the O2 sensor. And there she comes. Next job, there's a mid mounting point on the OEM exhaust. Again, a 12mm bolt and a 12mm nut at the back. And just remove that bolt and nut assembly from the flange on the frame there, and you have released the whole of the exhaust system, and gently maneuver it out of place. Right, and there you can see the old gasket which I've chewed up to get it out, and you'll need to do that with a screwdriver or similar because it'll be locked in. Here's the new crush washer stroke gasket, that copper gasket there, a bit of grease on it to hold it in place, and just pop it in there. And then you can offer up the exhaust downpipe. Make sure, as you saw there, that it is the oval hole in that flange which goes towards the bottom and the round one towards the top. And once you have it in place, then you can just finger tighten the 12mm nuts on there. Next job, a little bit of grease on the pipe there, just to ease the silencer on. And there you can see I'm having to remove the hanger for the OEM silencer as well. When you come to do this, if you're doing it, just undo that bolt and the whole thing will come away. And there we go with the Tec Bike Parts stainless steel silencer. Slip that on, pop the mounting bracket behind the flange on the frame there, as you can see, and pop the 12mm nut on the back. Okay, then you can start to nip up the bolts at the cylinder head, the two 12mm nuts there. Very, very important that you do so evenly between the two. So you need a bit of tightening at the top, a bit at the bottom, bit at the top, bit at the bottom, etc. Make sure it's done evenly. And then we'll be torquing those bolts up to 18 Newton meters, as you can see there. Next job, to return the O2 sensor. You might need a bit of oil on the threads just to ease it in there, and just screw that back in, and then you're going to need to re-thread that lead back the same way that you took it out. There is a little plastic clamp behind the oil cooler which allows you to slot that lead in, and then it goes up between the that part of the frame just above the oil cooler there, and from there you can reconnect it to the wiring loom. Right, next job then is to tighten up the clamp that holds the new silencer onto the exhaust pipe, and that will be to 10 Newton meters. Very important now, before you think about firing up the exhaust and getting it hot, is to wipe off all your fingerprints and other marks using either panel wipe or WD-40 GT85, something like that. Otherwise they're going to burn themselves in eventually, and you'll have the devil's own job getting them off. So give the exhaust a good clean with something like that at this point. Okay, so now we're on to the right hand side of the bike. This was filmed the following day and it was chucking it down, as you can see. So I've speeded up the whole procedure. It's exactly the same as on the left hand side. But as you can see, on this occasion I've not needed to pull the tank back to get to that O2 connector just underneath there. Right, so once you've finished on the right hand side, made sure everything is correctly in place and tightened up, don't forget to give the entire exhaust a good wipe down with the WD-40 GT85 panel wipe, some cleaning solvent or another to get rid of your mucky prints, otherwise they'll burn on forever. And then what we'll be doing is firing up the bike and letting it idle without touching the throttle for 10 to 15 minutes so the ECU can adapt to the new exhaust, and then we're done. Okay, hope that was of some interest. I'll see you on the next one. I'll see thee.